So I thought I'd show you a bit of progress on the plot today, since it's such a nice day and there's so much going on. So the first thing is wood chip. We took advantage of that really frosty weather to get all the paths wood chipped, and the frosty weather is perfect because it means we don't do any damage to the green drive with the wheelbarrows. So we got all these paths done. I love it when it's all done, and this wood chip is not ideal. I mean, there's a lot of green in it, but it just looks lovely. It's just like a forest floor. I really like wood chip paths. I mean, I like the look of grass paths, but I like the utility of wood chip paths. So the next thing I did was I got all this ochre and got it moved into the polytunnel, and that's kind of important because I don't want any more frost damage. Well, I don't want any frost damage to it. Like that, for example, is too close to the surface, and that end there is all gone spongy now, so it's frost damaged, which is, it's a real shame because it's such good stuff. I probably should have brought them in the polytunnel a little bit earlier. So I also consolidated all my compost into these 2 bins now, so these are full, and I shall leave those for a month or so, and then I'll give them both another turn and then another turn back, and then I'll leave them until autumn, which is when I'll probably be using that compost. And then I also got a delivery of my favoured mulching material, which is spent mushroom compost, and I really like this because it's effectively sterile. So there's nearly a cubic metre here, which should see me through most of the year. But yeah, it's a great mulch. So when I planted my salad beds, down the centre here I put alternates of red lettuces, and I knew that the red lettuces didn't survive very well through winter, so I'm going to take these, harvest these now, and into these I'm going to put calabrese into these gaps. So these are the plants I'm putting in today. These are calabrese and these are Brussels sprouts. Obviously the Brussels sprouts are just for leaves. And one of my viewers was asking about planting brassicas and how many leaves to remove, and obviously at this point it makes sense to take these cotyledons off. How much more to take off? Well, if I'm planting in the polytunnel, I've not got any wind in here, so I don't need to plant them massively deep. But if I were, and I'm planting them very young, so these are only 6 weeks old, I think. If I were planting them outside, I'd let them grow on for another 2 or 3 weeks, and I might even take these 2 leaves off to give me quite a nice deep stem. But as it is, that bit is just fine. So there we go, we've got 7 more calabrese in here, and we'll be harvesting these for the leaves as well as the heads, and we'll also get quite a few side shoots off these before we need to remove them. And then I've just finished this bed off now, and just put 2 more calabrese and 1 cauliflower in here, and that is it now for calabrese in the polytunnel. I don't need any more. The next succession will be outside in one of the low tunnels, and I'm not at the moment going to interplant anything into this bed of lettuce because I'm a bit short of lettuce right now. I think these will be ready in about a week, certainly ready by February, and so they'll provide a nice supplement, so I don't want to interfere with those. That's probably where the cauliflowers will go later on, in February time, mid-February probably, something like that. So now I'm going to do Brussels sprouts in that bed, and I don't need a huge amount because Brussels sprouts are quite prolific in terms of the amount of leaf growth, and I've got quite a nice range of brassicas now, so I don't need a huge number, but I'm going to put I'm going to interplant into every gap in the spinach bed. So first off I'm going to just clean this spinach up because there's a lot of dead and dying leaves and things around there. So let's get on with that. This is a ridiculously close spacing if you were to grow sprouts to maturity, but when you're only growing them for leaves you can plant them at this density. In fact, later on in the year you can plant them quite a bit denser than this and they do just fine, but this seems right for me. So the rest of this bed now is reserved for radishes, turnips, carrots, etc. That is all the brassicas that I'm planting, apart from cauliflowers, which will go in here, as I said, a bit later on. So I think I'm pretty much done. I will water these in now. The ground's a little bit, it's only just moist now. It really needs a good water, but I'm not going to water the rest of the bed because it's still too damp. It's a lovely sunny day today, but the next few days are going to be really damp and horrible. So now in theory I've got some early garlic which I'm growing on in the polytunnel, and it's just a bit patchy in terms of its growth rate. It's all sort of coming through, but what I've decided to do is just to put some extra plants in the centres of these, and then I can harvest the extra plants as green garlic. It just seems a waste to have this so sparse in here, and that looks so much better. And that's a good lesson learned for me there, because there was absolutely no point me putting these garlic in the ground in October and tying up this bed for, you know, a whole season, when I could actually have just put them in the ground in modules in November and got much healthier looking plants to transplant into this bed now, when I'd perhaps cleared a crop from there. So yeah, really useful lesson that. So I really like using these crop bars up here in the canopy of the polytunnel for all sorts of different things, and right now I'm using them for my first early strawberries, and I've got 3 more to do. And I like these pots actually, they're as cheap as chips. I got them off Amazon, and they just have these nice little clip-on supports, and if I can show you, they're just very hard to do one-handed, of course, like so many things. They just clip on like that, really simple, and I like it because it means I can keep this top out of the way when the plants are just being stored on the ground. Now with early strawberries, I think it is nice for them to get a few good frosts, and they've had plenty of frosts now, so I've brought them in because I want them as early as I can get them, because obviously I've got my second early strawberries outside. So my bigger baskets, and as I said, these just hang from the crop bar, and I'm going to use these for golden purslane. So in the polytunnel I think I can start golden purslane at the beginning of May, and then I can take them outside, because they won't need to be in here all the time, but I can take them outside if I want to in, you know, sort of July time, and that'll be when the tomatoes are getting too big and these will be getting in the way of the tomatoes. So I think it'll just give me a really early crop of golden purslane, and that's probably our favourite summer salad ingredient. And so I'll probably have 3 or 4 of these hanging baskets with golden purslane in them, and then the others will have cucamelons in them. And then of course I can, in kind of August time, move a whole load of new hanging baskets, because I've got duplicates of these in here, so they won't get in the way of the tomatoes, because the tomatoes are growing up at the back here, and so I can grow something in front of the tomatoes. And again, that might be a late crop of golden purslane, Well, I'm actually thinking I might even do carrots, because I think I might be able to get away with carrots in that depth. And just little baby carrots for salads, because we never seem to have enough carrots for salads. And I'm pretty sure that carrots will also grow in those. I think that's plenty deep enough for the something like Amsterdam forcing, or early Nantes 2 or something quick growing, not too big. And so now I've got enough space in here for the potatoes, and soon I'll be starting all the, well, not soon, but in a few months' time I'll also be starting the early beans, early courgettes and all that sort of thing, and they're all going in containers. And I'll be planting those out in March. So I'm going to have a lot of space in here, and I need it because, as I say, I've got a lot of potatoes coming in here in containers. But what I need right now is to get those ochre in here. So there's the ochre, 1 tub every 2 weeks till the middle of March, when we got the radishes again. And I have just harvested one of the tubs that was actually eaten by a mouse a bit, but I managed to salvage enough tubers to use for next year. So we've got a nice selection now of red and yellow ones. So I've started to clear my storage path. When you have an allotment, especially when you have so many covers like I do, it's really useful to have this area where I can just drop low tunnels and planks of wood and all sorts of other debris basically when I'm not using it. And I've done my first bit of weeding for 2021. So this was a carrot bed, it's going to be a spinach bed, and then it's going to be a red cabbage bed. So it's got to work hard this year. So I'll give it a good revitalisation and a good mulch of mushroom compost in a couple of weeks' time, ready for the spinach. But right now I just want to see if there's any weed germination, because I've tried to get them out, but who knows, some of them are quite deep rooted. So that's me done for the day. I like to try and get 1 day a week on the allotment when I'm just doing these sorts of little jobs, and 1 day harvesting at this time of, well, not a whole day, but a few hours harvesting at this time of year. And I do try and pop in to the allotment most days actually, but in winter most of those days are literally just for half an hour. And part of that is just I like to have a walk around the site, see what's going on, just chat to people, and yeah, it's just a nice walk. And there's always something happening on an allotment, and so it makes the walk really quite interesting. And I'll just open and close beds and remove fleece and things like that as needed for the weather conditions. So that's my kind of pretty relaxed winter life, but it's all going to speed up no end come about middle of February, when we really start planting and replanting beds and reconditioning beds and everything. And then of course all the way through spring it's kind of crazy until everything calms down in June. And then we have a very relaxed summer, then it all starts up again in September. So that's my allotment life. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.